My name is Monday Alade. I am a Nigerian, but I am resident in the United States of America, and I work here as a police officer.
Hello and welcome to Obehi Podcast. I'm your host, Obehi A14, and I strongly believe that everyone has a story to share. Now let's get started with this episode. Thank you so much, dear Alade. We are talking about Nigeria. Okay, me also, I'm in Nigeria, but I'm living in Italy. But we care about our country. We care about Nigeria. Whatever is happening in Nigeria affects us, even though we are not directly in Nigeria. Who knows? Tomorrow we might find ourselves there. Our brothers are there. Our sisters are there. So indirectly and directly, we are affected with what is happening in Nigeria. That is why we are here to talk about Nigeria, because it is our country. So there is nothing anybody can do about that.
Absolutely.
So because we are preparing for 2023 election and a lot is going on in the country, going on also particularly within the terrain of politics. So that is what this conversation is going to be about today. So I don't know if you want to give a kind of a small update about the situation, what is going on there. Yes, please go.
Thank you very much, Mr. Obehi. There's no way you and I can forget Nigeria. We might be living in foreign countries. Things might be going good for us here, but our destinies are tied to Nigeria. Our lives, everything about us is tied to Nigeria. There's no way we can rule Nigeria out. So that means at a time like this, when things are getting heated, especially when it comes to the politics of Nigeria, we have to speak, because whatever decision whoever we elect make, one way or the other, affects us. Like you rightly mentioned, events in Nigeria affects us in so many ways. We might be living there, we might not be living there. Apart from the fact that we have families there, a whole lot of us also do businesses in Nigeria, and a whole lot of us have heritage and so many things we owe dearly in Nigeria. So for that reason, we have to be talking about Nigeria. It's our nation, it's our country. It's a place where we were born. It's a place where we were raised. It's a place where we have, that foundational training, that eventually shaped our lives today. So we have to talk Nigeria.
All right. Thank you for that. Thank you for confirming that, because it is important. Because somebody could say, why don't you just go have a beer and relax? After all, you are there in the US, maybe I'm here in Italy, just be happy, everything. But we cannot do that. It's not possible. We are going to be strongly until we have a better Nigeria for those that are living in Nigeria, and of course for our international image also. All right. Now, what is your feeling about what is going on towards the 2023 election?
It is very, very interesting. And if you look, so much is going on. But what is more important is to what extent is Nigerians taking these issues that are developing on a daily basis in Nigeria. To what extent do they really understand what is going on? To what extent are they really willing, to change the narratives in Nigeria? So if you put the whole things together and you juxtapose them with the events in Nigeria.
We believe that everyone has a story to share. We believe in the power of storytelling in today's digital economy. Yes, we believe that our audience need to be touched at the level of emotion so we can better engage. What about you? Do you believe in storytelling as much as we do? Do you want to reach the hearts and minds of your audience? Then join us in our online training class. storytelling for content creators and digital entrepreneurs. Come to obehi1food.com/storytelling and learn how to leverage your storytelling skills so you can earn more as a content creator and digital entrepreneur. Storytelling is a powerful instrument at our disposal. Let's explore it together. See you in the class.
You will see that the country is still heading towards a wrong direction. So the political turmoil that is going on, coupled with the economic immiseration, the social malady and mismanagement, that is going on, it's one that that Nigerians should be thinking about, and it should be something that should dictate which direction they go. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Just now, before we started recording, I went out with my wife and my son to just have a walk around my neighborhood here. So we were reflecting about the country, and we were talking about the light in Nigeria, for example, electricity. That in a country like Nigeria, the energy that the whole country use, a small section of Italy where I am will require more than that for the economy to be running. I'm talking of Veneto region in Italy, So, and we expect the Nigerian power holding, formerly known as NEMPA, to provide light, as if maybe they are the one that are actually holding the lights, Because sometimes we are not really honest with ourselves. We are not telling ourselves the truth. In that, up until the time that Obasanjo became the president, which was 1999, because this is very clear for us now. Okay, let's forget what had been happening before. This very basic issue were already clear. Nigeria needed these basic things, the basic infrastructural development, light, energy. How can we generate it? It is important for us because if you take light in London, if you take light in Paris or New York, the economy is going to crumble. So how can we function without light? So this is just one. This is only one. No? So we should be thinking that a governor or a president aspirant who is coming in should have these things figured out. Should know that these are issues that the people of Nigeria need to solve. It doesn't require prayer. It doesn't require speaking high grammar. It just requires pragmatism, something very basic and genuine. It's very rudimental. If you don't have light, you are going to stumble on blocks. You are going to fall. It is very simple. So you were saying that whether the Nigerian people actually are aware of what is going on. And I think this is where actually I want to drag you a little bit more. What are we supposed to know? What are we supposed to tell the people that are coming into power that this is what they should provide for us? What are we supposed? Because if we don't know, then they are going to ride the same thing, the same old game again.
This is where I actually have issue with most of the candidates. And this is where I also have problem with Nigerians. One, we Nigerians are people that are quick to forget. Two, we don't do thorough homework. And three, we don't judge people by their scorecard. Now, if you look at the political terrain, look at the various players, the only one person that stands out among them that seem have not had his foot, in the corridors of power among all the contesting candidates right now is Omoyele Sowore. Unfortunately, this same guy is the only one candidate that Nigerians are not even thinking about at all. This is a problem. Now, like you rightly said, power is the engine room of every economy. There's no way you can rule out power. If there is power, it drives every other sector of the economy. If there is power, people can use it to transform themselves, and they can also use it, to achieve some of those things they have in mind. They can use power to generate so many other things, that could sustain the nation, that could also sustain the citizens. But unfortunately, Nigerians are not looking at this direction. They listen to vague statements. They are carried away by sweet political talks. They just listen to people giving them wrong data, wrong analysis, and they flow with that. That is a problem. Now, let's look at these candidates, for example. Look at Abubakar Atiku. He deputized Obasanjo for 2 consecutive terms. Him and Obasanjo spent so much money into the energy sector. What did Nigerians get from it? Zero. This same Atiku was the one who was in charge of privatization. He privatized the NEPA power, the NEPA, this thing you made mention of. But from his privatization, what did Nigerians get from it in terms of energy and in terms of every other indices that drive the sustainability of a flourishing economy or a prosperous people? None. Now let us take Bola Ahmed Tinubu on the other hand. When he was a Lagos state governor, a lot of people are saying he transformed Lagos. But even after he left Lagos, Lagos couldn't boast of a stable, power. If you come here in the US, for example, if you go to like New Jersey, you will see where nearly all the street lights are being powered by solar. If you go to Midwestern America, like if you go to a place like Iowa and some other Midwestern states, you will see how those state governors there use the resources of the state to generate electricity from dams. These are dams that they built by themselves. The dams were not built by the federal government of the United States. It was built by state government. Now, I understand that power in Nigeria is more like exclusive responsibility of the federal government, but part of the responsibility of a state government is to ensure that his people or her people and the state have everything they need to survive. So if the federal government fails in its role, so it then behooves the people to ask, where is the revenue that the state governor is getting from the federal government? Now, what about the internally generated revenue? What are they doing with all these things? So Bola Ahmed Tinubu generated all this fund in his time. What did he do with it? Lagos State cannot boast of a stable power. It cannot boast of ultra-modern road system where people can drive, that a road that link nearly every part of Lagos. It's a lie. Now let us take Peter Obi on the other hand. A lot of people kept. I think I don't know why Nigerians are overblowing him, because as soon as he signified that he wants to run for the office of the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I took time to study him and study his activities when he was a governor of Anambra State. I called most of my friends that are still there. I called people from Onitsha. Most of my friends that we went to school together, a lot of them a lot of them were from the Igbo descent of Nigeria. I spoke to so many of them. None of them could show me one tangible, source of energy that this man generated for the state. Apart from vague statement that, oh, he built this hospital, he built that road. In the United States, it doesn't take much to build roads. Most of our roads here, they take them off, nearly every season. Now that winter is coming, if you go to 695 here, you will see that they already take off all the road. So in Nigeria, we have bitumen, we have all these things. It seems like road construction is a major thing. These are basic things that a state governor can do with the resources that they're aiming. But Peter Obi cannot boast of all of this. One question I was asking my friend that was arguing with me the other day, I asked him, Peter Obi was a state governor for 8 years. Yes, we understand that, he argued every day that he is financially prudent. He took the money of Anambra State, he invested it, he put it here, he put it there. He saved this, he saved that. The question I asked him, how has his financial prudence lead to the economic prosperity of the people? None of them, were able to answer me. Because if you have to look at some of the indicators or some of the indices that you can use to determine, good governance, part of them is the prosperity of the people. If you're financially prudent and you manage the state resources well, if that management does not reflect in the lives of the people, it is a waste. You get what I'm saying? And now, these candidates that seems to be the most popular, among the Nigerian people, they all failed in their previous responsibility. They tested power, but they couldn't use that power to transform the lives of the people for good. So why are Nigerians talking about these people, for God's sake? Amazingly, none of them, again, as we move towards 2023, none of these candidates have been able to give us a systematic approach or what I would call a step-by-step approach of how they will solve these debilitating problems that the people are facing, except lip services, except sweet political talks. It is always easy to say, oh, I will do this, I will do that. That is good if you did not have previous record. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Record is just like, for example, here in the United States, as a police officer, if I go to the court, or maybe if I am trying to, let's assume I go to the court and I am trying to prosecute someone for any criminal offense, part of what the court will use to uphold my whatever claim I have against the criminal person is my proven track record. They will look at your background. They will look at the things you have done. Then they will corroborate them with what you are saying today. Can we find the link?
You see,
if there is no link, you will see where defense attorneys will start puncturing your arguments. Yes, you say you're going to do this, but you were police officer yesterday. You prosecuted this case yesterday. This was what you did. How does that corroborate with what you're saying to me? If they can't find that corroboration, is zero. The only one candidate among all of them that gave us a clear cut of what he is going to do when it comes to energy, employment, and some other issues that is affecting Nigeria is Omoyele Sowore. He told us.
And what chance does Omoyele Sowore have to be able to become a president in the country and able to tackle some of this issue? What chance does he have?
You see, not until Nigerians realize that Nigeria belongs to them, they will continue to question people that have solutions, but who are struggling to stamp their foot on the political history of Nigeria. And that is the problem we have always had. The people, when you talk about structure, the question you're raising is simply like a structure. What structure does he have? The people themselves are the structure. It is not until I serve as a state governor, it is not until I serve as a chancellor, or it's not until I serve as a senator or a House of Representative member before you know that I can solve problems. What you need to look at is my past history. Someone like Omoyele Sowore, for example, when the former president, late Yaradua, when he passed away, many Nigerians did not even know, were not even aware that the man has died. Even his own deputy, his own vice president, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, was not aware. It was Omoyele Sowore that blew out that news. He stood by it. He stood by the Nigerian people. He stood by Nigeria as a nation and stood on his word. He single-handedly ensured that the ruling cabal from the north did not hijack the Nigerian government. That was how Goodluck Jonathan ended up becoming the president of Nigeria. If not, Goodluck was in limbo. Nigerians were totally oblivious of what was going on in the country. As if that was not enough, Omoyele Sowore, on the other hand, had single-handedly built a digital online news that changed the face of journalism across the entire world. What do you call problem solving? It's your ability to use the knowledge you have gathered to transform whatever ideas or whatever practical things you think you can bring to life. He has done it.
All right, now let's talk about the ability to learn from the past, because this, of course, is linked to the fact that we need to look at the track record. Because if the people we are talking about have jumped down from the sky, we will say, well, we don't have the possibility of able to learn what they have done before. But if they have been part of us, if they have been here, some might be governors, some might be vice president, we know that they have been here. We can look at the track record. Now, these people have been coming again and again, 1999 and up until now. We can say we made mistake then, but are we able to learn from this mistake so that those who eventually become the representative, they are not like we have always had? I want to clear one thing there, that we currently have a president that is almost like on a wheelchair. The current president is almost like on a wheelchair. And now we have Tinubu, for example, who is being proposed to become a president in a country like Nigeria. And that for sure is going to be on a wheelchair. which is to say that we were supposed to learn from the past that something have happened before. So that we don't need to, that is why we study history, so that we don't continually repeat the same thing. So the question therefore is, are we Nigerians able to learn from our past so that we can move on? Or do we need to continuously repeat the same thing and they hoping that miracle will happen one day?
Okay, the question is that for how long are we going to continue learning? I will always refer to the United States, okay? There is something here. If you are trying to learn a particular vocation or a particular skill set, and they put you through trainings, they put you through, maybe they teach you the theoretical part of it, you didn't get it, they re-emphasize it, you didn't get it, they put you through the practical aspect of it, you still cannot get it, then they will do what they call simulation. And that simulation is just them practically bringing you into the world of that very specific idea. For example, now, if you have to learn how to shoot guns, if they take you to the range, you shoot and shoot and shoot, and you can't hit a target. Now, after they have taught you the classroom aspect of it, they take you to the range so that you can demonstrate the practical aspect. You couldn't get it. They will take you to a room that they call simulation room. You will see yourself, you will see the target on a computer. They will give you a laser gun. You will shoot. If you still cannot get it, it means you are not trainable.
To be a great content creator in today's fast-changing economy, you need one thing: storytelling. Storytelling is a powerful instrument to leverage either for personal use or for your business success. This is why this training class, Storytelling for Content Creator and Digital Entrepreneurs, was created. It is designed to help you leverage the power of storytelling so you can stand out from the crowd and earn more in your business. Come to obehi-4.com/storytelling and learn how to leverage your storytelling skill to earn more as a content creator and digital entrepreneur. You need the power of storytelling to stand out in the competition. So let's explore it together. See you in the class.
So the situation in Nigeria now, if Nigerians still cannot get what is going on, it means they are not trainable. It means they just have what they believe in, which is abnormality. The bringing the knowledge to them, like you mentioned, we have a period of military rule. We saw how military systematically destroyed Nigeria before they handed over to a civilian government in 1993, right? Now, Obasanjo and this same article, they came, we saw what they did, we saw the havoc they wreaked on Nigeria. Bola Ahmed Tinubu was a state governor at the time. We saw how he systematically turned Lagos to his own personal property. We saw how he systematically hijacked the state resources. Peter Obi was a state governor for 8 years. We saw how he couldn't use the financial resources of that state to transform the lives of the people. And we also saw how he was not able to manage the human potential of his people. So which other thing are Nigerians trying to learn? If you have all these practical experiences and you are still saying you are experimenting or you still want to learn, for how long are you going to continue to learn using bad approaches or using people who have been tested but failed? For how long? I'm just asking. Even if most of us that went to school, you will see that when you are discussing schools of thought, you will see how one school evolved from another to the other to the other by different set of people. What they are doing is to say, okay, we look at the traditional schools of thought, it didn't work. Okay, what do we pick from there? They pick it up, then they go to another phase. Some other people come up with new ideas. Maybe they call it the realist school of thought. They try those set of ideas. They also see that, okay, there is still little things that didn't work. They move again. They pick up some set of ideas from that. They match it again. Maybe they not this time. They call it the traditional schools of thought, right? But the thing is that they keep evolving. They keep bringing in new set of ideas with different set of people. If you cannot experiment fresh ideas, it's a problem. You cannot continue to rely on old ideas that created the problem you find yourself and think you will get something new out of it. These people, like, tell me how long has Atiku read it? Tell me the periodicals he's learning. Tell me how many seminars he has attended, except vague statement. Oh, I know Nigeria. I'm going to transform Nigeria. I'm going to sell NNPC. I'm going to sell. Peter Obi, on the other hand, oh, Nigeria failed because, but what about your own role in that Nigeria that failed? Peter Obi, for God's sake, is a multi-billionaire. Go back and study how he made his own money. Yes, he might be a businessman for a very long time, but let him provide us with the taxes he paid on his businesses to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Show us your taxes. Let us know how much you pay on your taxes. The same thing go with Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So tell me, if these people took advantage of all these loopholes, tell me how you think they are not going to continue. Because they have been in power, they didn't change. What would change tomorrow? Nothing.
All right, that's a good point there. So I interviewed one professor of development in that was in Abeokuta University. No, Ibadan University, yes. So at one point, he said the politicians that we have are very intelligent, but they are rogue intelligent. They are criminals. They know what they are doing. They are always moving around themselves. They award the contract to themselves. They set up their shadow companies to sort of justify where the money is going to go. They are not as dumb as they might appear. They are very clever. They know how to work, to play on the intelligence of the people. So the ball again is going to turn back to the people. As long as the average Nigerian do not yet understand his or her role in the politics, it will continue to remain like this, just the dog that is turning around, eating its own tail. You see, the question now is, why are these candidates the one that are offered to the country? Why are this one the one that, after they have been screened, because I want to believe that PDP and all the different political parties in the country have had a meeting, they have had their screening, they have had their choice, they have had their options. At the end of the day, they provided this candidate to the country. That Tinubu is the best that his party could present to Nigeria, based on what criteria? That Atiku is the best that the the party could present to the country based on what criteria. So the question is, how did we get this kind of candidate?
My brother, these people you described as being smart are actually not smart. Why it seems like they are very smart is because of the unsuspecting citizens. If you follow American political history, you will see that when Donald Trump came, as he was coming to power, he told us so many things, and many Americans stood up and voted for him. After 4 years, they saw the harm he could do to the American society, and they saw that the direction he was leading the country is a doom. It's a direction where America can end up in doom. What did they do? The people stood up. The good people among Americans too didn't stop. The press didn't stop. Both print and visual, they didn't stop. They continue to educate the people. But the good thing is that the American people too are people that are clear-headed. They don't believe in false illusion. They listen and they make the right choice. This is one thing that is lacking in Nigeria. Unfortunately, the ruling cabal know this. They know that the Nigerian people are very gullible. Fella sang it. Fella told us, army man go whip your nyash. You go dey look like Dundee. Police go slap your face. You go just think say everything good. You go dey suffer, you go dey smile. You think say na heaven you dey. You get what I mean? That is the problem. Abnormality suddenly becomes normal. Because few of my friends that were arguing with me in just before Buhari's second term, when we were massively saying, Nigerians, please don't vote Buhari for second term. This man is not good for Nigeria. This man is this. They never listen. When most of them eventually travel out of Nigeria and come to the US, I had the opportunity to speak with about 2 or 3 of them. They were more like my enemy. They told me to enemy just because I say, why would you vote for this man that, that seems not to have anything to offer? Now they all changed their tone. Now they're seeing what good governance is actually all about. You see where I'm coming from? That is the number one thing. The number two thing is that these same people you describe as being smart, they are not smart. How can Atiku be talking about privatizing NNPC as if that is the greatest gift that Nigeria has, or greatest resources that Nigeria has? Peter Obi is talking about transforming the economy. He's talking about ending corruption. He's talking about all of that. Tinubu is trying to feed the nation with agbado and ewa. But the question that most of them are not asking, these natural resources, like oil, is that the greatest resources that comes out of Nigeria? The answer is no. The greatest resources that Nigeria has, that if anybody wants to transform Nigeria for good, is to end up transforming these same resources. That is the human potential of Nigeria. If you transform the human potential of Nigeria and you actually engage That human potential, my brother, I am telling you, overnight, Nigeria will surpass America. Come to the United States of America. No place you will go to. Come and see what Nigerians are doing. I'm just being so sincere with you. Even the Italy where you live, see what Nigerians are doing. So if these three candidates are not talking about how they want to successfully utilize Nigeria's greatest potential or how they would transform it for good, that is a problem. The only candidate among them that recognize Nigerian human potential is Obehi Alade. He's the only person.
All
So
right.
that is the man, the person to me that seems to understand the problem of Nigeria. All these problems we talk about in Nigeria today, they did not exist in vacuum. It is the people that are responsible for this problem. So if you have to solve this problem, you have to first of all solve the problem of the people. Invest in them. Look, for over 6 or 7 months, ASU is on strike. Look at what you have a graduate now from Nigeria. You ask them to write just an essay. It's a problem. You ask them to write common resume. It's a problem. They go to school, they learn theories. Even the professors that are teaching them, these same professors are not even well equipped. Now, how do you think they would transform the economy? Even if you have all the oil of Saudi Arabia, all the oil in Kuwait, all the oil in Iraq, all the oil in America, you take everything and take it to Nigeria so that they will be owned and controlled by Nigeria. If you have this same set of people without you transforming them for good or helping them develop their potential to the fullest, you're going to end up the way we are right now.
All right. All
That is
right.
the truth.
All right. Now, the people that are running Nigeria, like Osayomore will say, they're actually less than 100 people, and they have always been the same people.
Yes.
And we can see that they don't want other people to come into the club. They are
Yeah.
always among themselves. They are gradually growing old. That is why we are beginning to see people of over 80 or 70 want to become Papa Nigeria.
Yes.
They want to be Papa Nigeria. Papa. It is quite funny how we want.
It
But
is.
the question is, why are we not smart enough? Why are we okay? Let us say these guys are not smart, no, but they manage to be running over Nigerians. If we are smart enough, why do we allow them to be running over us? I'm not clear on that.
The Nigerian people are not suspecting. That is the number one thing. And I told you in one of our interviews before that Nigerians are not vigilant. If you are not suspecting and you are not vigilant, it's a very big problem. This vicious cycle of these criminal elements taking turn in looting the nation, they end up using that same money they loot to continue to hold Nigerians to ransom. They continue to use that same money to make sure that Nigerians are subservient. Now, the question is, at what point will Nigerians say enough is enough? This is actually the time. Because for once, the Nigerians again are getting united. If you look at the events in Nigeria, you see everybody, Peter Obehi here and there. But they are heading towards the wrong direction. If this kind of human structure they created for Peter Obehi in the last 5 or 6 months is also the kind of structure they gather for Obehi election, the probability that Nigerians will be able to see a little further is almost 97%. One, I understand that these grandpas, they're done. Their times, they've done too much evil that any extra time for them would be injurious to Nigeria. Omoyele also saw that for you to successfully chase these people back to their home, you have to actually confront them. There's a saying in those days that if you must die with the devil, you need to have a long spoon. Now, the Peter Obi that Nigerians are queuing behind, this same Peter Obi have gone to spend time with Ibrahim Babangida, the number one enemy of Nigeria. This same Peter Obi was once a vice presidential candidate with Atiku Abubakar. This same Peter Obi ate and died with Obasanjo, with Tinubu. And if you look at their meeting in England 3 days ago, was it 3 or 4 days ago? Peter Obi, Obasanjo, Atiku Abubakar, they were all together in one body. It tells you that they know how to unite if they have to cut Nigeria's neck. It's only the Nigerian people that are not suspecting and not vigilant enough to see the evil machination against them.
So we can see now why that professor is saying that this elite, they are rogue, they are smart. Because if they are not smart, how are they able to run this system? How are they able to run this entire country and nobody is suspecting? What are they using?
Tell you what they did. What they did is very simple. They used Atiku Abubakar to achieve this aim. When Atiku Abubakar and Obasanjo came in 1993, I can't remember specifically, the number one thing they attacked is the Nigerian educational system. They took away the critical structure that allows students to be critical in thinking. They took away structures that allow students to be strategic thinkers. They took all of that out of the educational system. Then another thing they started doing was to start defunding Nigerian educational system. We now witness a situation where students will stay at home for almost 1 to 2 years without going to school. So they took away all those basics away. Now they also start attacking the academic staff of universities in such a way that professors and doctors and university teachers began to lose interest in actually teaching the students. So by so doing, even when the students go to school, they're only receiving knowledge that can only, allow them to serve the cruel system that is put in place. They were no longer going to school to learn those critical values, those strategic thinking, those things that you learn, that you come out, you are able to differentiate between your rights and your wrong. They were no longer doing that. You find out we found ourselves in a situation where even university professors were now also struggling to survive. Selling of handout became lucrative. If you don't pay, you cannot pass certain classes, became lucrative. What do you think they were doing? They were killing the system because they knew that if Nigerians have good education, then the probability that they will be challenged is 100%. If you look at the people, the candidates or the individuals, the Nigerians that are still able to confront this cruel system today, trace their history. All of them went to school before before Obasanjo and Atiku, or even before Babangida.
So in that sense, what kind of Nigeria? So they are basically creating a kind of mini zombies that they can
Now,
control.
you understand where I am coming from.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what I ended up doing is to create people, that cannot be self-dependent. People that never be self-sufficient, no matter how much they have. They created people who cannot even conduct independent research to understand what is going on around them. So at the end of the day, we find ourselves where we are today. That is the problem. That is what happened. It is a systematic thing. Then
Yeah,
on
yeah.
top of that, they now unleash hunger. They unleash threat. They unleash violence. So if you put all these things together, you just technically kill a whole generation. You just technically ostracize the future, the lives of a generation. You completely put a chain on their brain so that they can't see beyond their nose. That is what happened.
You see, what that professor was saying is right. That, of course, what he was saying is what Osayomore, the late Osayomore of blessed memory, was also saying. That this gang that are ruling Nigeria are few, but they have a very tight hold of the entire country. They run it, and all of them are the same. They're basically the same club of people. They run the system perfectly in control of it. They are the one who didn't want the light to be created in Nigeria. They don't want electricity to be generated in Nigeria. That is why it is not available. So, like you said too, they are the one that refuse to pay to make fund available for the education. That is why it is like that. You see, since I was a young person in Nigeria, this question of people going on strike have been a way of life in the country. Why should they have to be like that? Because if this is a country that is actually aspiring to become, or that occupy a position in the world, you should care about the education. Because if for 6 months students are at home, what do you want them to do? For 6 months, 7 months, how are they going to be able to recuperate? How can somebody do this to a people? This is what our leaders are doing to us. They are deliberately killing the country. And they are still proposing us this leader who will tell you, I will give you a wa, vote for me. Right. I will give you pounded yarn, vote for me.
Yes.
When is it going to be over for them? When are we, Nigeria, going to be tired and say no, so that a new Nigeria can come to be?
Obehi, that is a very tough question. It is a very tough question to answer because I don't know. Because at every point when you think Nigerians have it, before you wake up the next morning, it's a different thing. And don't take my word for it. Look at the NSAS movement. What become of it? Even after innocent citizens were massacred at Lekki toll gate, you still have Nigerians who stood up and were saying it never happened. That should have been one event that should have united the entire nation. But again, it failed miserably. But again, it all boils down to Nigerians not being vigilant. It boils down to them not being sensitive, even to their own plight. It's a very tough situation, my brother. It is a very tough situation, I must confess.
And I want to believe that a lot of psychologists all over the world will be studying Nigeria to understand, to better understand the human conduct, the human behavior, because this is something that needs to be studied. How can a few people just imprison the country?
The question is even that everywhere you go now, as a Nigerian, if you are excelling, they will ask you, you guys are so brilliant, but how come you couldn't use this knowledge to transform your home? It's a question you can't answer. You can't, it's like, you know, I don't know how to, I don't know. Obehi, I don't know. It's a difficult question. It's a difficult thing to answer. Because if you look at the entire team, but I think bulk of the question too, also, it's also the way Nigeria is configured. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
If you have people who have different culture, different social history, different mindset, and different drive as one people living within a given geographical space. And if the terms of their togetherness is not properly defined from the get-go, it can also create this kind of problem. And I think that is actually the biggest problem for Nigeria. Because if you look at the various political entities that make up Nigeria, my brother, we all have different aspirations. Even before independence, one factor that made Awu never to unite with the North was because he saw from the get-go how animalistic they are. He saw how unwilling they are ready to grow. He saw how crude their ways are. And he saw their brain and how much they don't want to be productive. But this is not to say that other part of the federation does not have their own problem. Yes, they do. But each time, just look at it. Each time you have a northern around in Nigeria, everything is a girl. Why? Why? Every time we have or we are close to a true federalism, you see them systematically draw Nigeria back to unitary system of government. Which we even doing right now in 21st century. See, my brother, it's a very tough situation. I think what Nigerians should be doing right now is to continue to ask each of these candidates, what are you doing to redefine Nigeria as a nation? What are those key elements that brought us together? How sacrosanct are they? How well are we holding those values? Or how? So Nigeria should be asking those questions. How do we redefine these values? How do we redefine these things that bind us together? Okay, if we cannot find a common answer, what do we do to move forward to make sure that this kind of situation we are witnessing today doesn't happen? These are the questions that Nigerians should be asking this candidate instead of just ranking sharing them up unnecessarily. It shouldn't be about money sharing. It shouldn't be about rice and agbado or rice and agbado and ewa. It should be 2023 should be anchored on critical, issues. Because Nigeria We have to redefine Nigeria. We have to redefine the people, and we have to create a structure that put into consideration a political ideology or a direction, a clear cut, a clear path where the nation wants to go. And each of the federated units must buy into it. And the ones that are not ready to buy into it, they will find a way to take care of that. And that is where the constitution of the country comes into the conversation. All of these things should be well defined in the Constitution. Like in the United States of America today, if you look at the Constitution, despite the fact that it was written several years ago, my brother, it defines the power of everybody. It defines the relationship that existed between and among all the states, the people, and the government. So everybody know their responsibility.
This is perfectly said.
To continue to be part of the union or to continue to be the union together.
This is perfectly said, no? A couple of days ago, I did an interview where we were looking at the story of a company, no? In that each successful company, looking at Apple and the giant, they have their own story, which of course don't necessarily be the story that everybody must read. But these stories define what this company is. So that if two managers are coming out from this company, each of them is going to say the same thing, exactly the same thing. Even maybe they might not use exactly the same word, but they stand for the same value. That is the identity of that company. If it's not like that, it's not going to succeed. I think even if a business can have that kind of rudimental principle to help them survive, a country should have it. As a country, we should have something that defines us, so that when you do that, they say, okay, those are Nigerians. What are our identity?
I agree with you.
But this thing, we need to forge them, because we don't need to expect now that, okay, we are just walking in the forest one day, they will just find it, they pick it on the ground. You don't pick things on the ground.
Obehi, that is why Nigeria needs a credible leader like Omoyele Sowore, who is ready to tell you the truth and who is ready to lead you by principle. Let me borrow from the story you just, from the analysis you just gave. In the United States, for example, police generally is not, you have different agencies. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
That run various police departments, even up to universities, colleges, and like elementary schools. You have other government entities that also have their own specific police officers. But I'm telling you, if you take a police officer from Maryland, maybe for example, from University of Maryland, Baltimore, you take that police officer to New York, they have the same training. They have the same principles. They have the same understanding. If they have to respond to certain issue, you will see similarity. They might use different interpretation, but if you look at everything, the principles of everything they do is one. So what does that mean? The people that are leading the United States of America, for example, understand the significance of a strong structure and ideology that define common existence. But in Nigeria, for example, everybody does what he or she likes. If you're a governor of a state, you can just wake up one day come to my house and pick me up. Nobody will talk. If you're a governor of a state, look at Ondo State, for example. Akeredolu has not paid his state employee for 7 months. So when fund eventually came, instead of him to pay all this fund, you know what he did? He paid them like 73%. The same thing Mimiko did when he was a state governor, embezzled the entire state resources. Nobody was able to call him to order. No state legislators, no federal governments that can hold any of these people responsible, no constitution, no judiciary, none. Just one man embezzled the entire state fund and refused to pay workers that were working for him, and also refused to make sure he conducts elections into local government offices. That is corruption of the highest order. But what is shocking is that the people sees this as a norm and they are comfortable with it. Someone is practicing abnormality. It is the responsibility of the people to reject it. But the people refused because they are so scared of being killed, but forgetting that even if you're killed today or not, but the mere fact that your means of livelihood is taken away from you, and you are still compelled by the same state entity to report at your workplace without you being paid for while you're being there. What makes you think you are not dying slowly? You are dying all the same.
Talking of this fraud, though, another thing that I was just thinking is in Calabar. You remember the Studio Tinapa project? See, that was it was built by Donald Duke or something. No? They spent, I don't know how much they spent on that project. Do you know that today, as we talk, the entire project where they spent billions is an abandoned project?
Right.
But the question is, this should have been an insult to the people of Calabar, as somebody spent your money to do this project from the state house. Let's say the governor of Calabar, the governor of the state. Now you have another person who say, "I'm going to be your governor. I swore to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to defend the dignity, the property, to respect the people of this country," and that same person just allowed those projects to waste.
To waste away.
What is going to happen to him?
Let me tell you, in the state of Maryland here, right, we have a place where we train new police officers. This building, the building, if you look at it, is magnificent. Is a state of the art. But that same building, the brother of Napoleon Bonaparte lived in that building. That property was his. The man returned back to Europe when Napoleon Bonaparte started his problem in Europe. So America sent him away. But that same building is still standing. It's used as a police training college now in the state of Maryland. If you go there, it's a state of the art. That means that this is a nation that recognizes that every single resources must be used to the fullest. Most of the buildings that seems like they abandoned, they did not abandon them. They just keep them there. They use them for training for like active shooters or like maybe simulation rooms and all of that. So as big as Tinapa was, to say a state governor abandoned Tinapa, I mean, what else can define waste? This building I told you in Maryland here, there are people that does the cleaning. They earn money. There are people that does the regular maintenance. They are on state salary. There are people that the building hired just to oversee the day-to-day activities in the entire building. Did you know how many people that place alone employ? If Tinapa is working, tell me how many people of that state it will hire that will be on the state payroll.
We believe that everyone has a story to share. We believe in the power of storytelling in today's digital economy. Yes, we believe that our audience need to be touched at the level of emotion so we can better engage. What about you? Do you believe in storytelling as much as we do? Do you want to reach the hearts and minds of your audience? Then join us in our online training class, Storytelling for Content Creators and Digital Entrepreneurs. Come to obehi1food.com/storytelling and learn how to leverage your storytelling skills so you can earn more as a content creator and digital entrepreneur. Storytelling is a powerful instrument at our disposal. Let's explore it together. See you in the class.
When Akeredolu became the governor of Ondo State, one of the things I told him before he became the governor, because he was reaching out here, I told him, sir, don't say Ondo State did not have enough resources. Ondo State have Aclasses. Ondo State have Obehi Podcast. Ondo State have this rubber plantation in Alade State. They have this Nairobi. They have all these things. You abandon all these things over time. What if you put few resources into this project? Don't you think that Michelin in Agbabu or in Alade Estate will end up producing tires so that you can tell any company that is coming to sell cars in Nigeria not to bring in tires to the country, that the tires that every vehicle will be using in Ondo State will be coming from Michelin in Alade Estate. At the end of the day, that will become a very big employer of the people. And the state will be generating internal revenue from that state. If you do that, you go to this what is it called? This Oluwa Glass in Okitipupa. Oluwa Glass can manufacture every single glasses that a vehicle needs. The windshield, the one at the back, the side mirror, the side windows, and all of that. So that anybody that is coming to sell vehicle in Ondo State, they have to buy those glasses from Ondo State to make sure to assemble their cars. So by so doing, what I'm technically telling you is that anybody that is coming to sell car in Nigerian market have to rely on products from Nigeria. That is what America. Do you think America manufacture these goods? They don't. They pick all these parts from everywhere. With the ones America have, they assemble them. They call them American spec. Toyota is not an American company. Those who do what they do, the ones they can do in Japan, they bring it here. Then the ones we have that we know we have the greatest advantage, we sell it to them. They couple all of them. That is how we have all these car companies here. So what is too big in all these things that Nigeria cannot replicate? Why do we have to overly depend on oil? My brother, this is sickening.
that is the leadership.
No, we are talking about, look at Ifon Ceramic in Ondo State again. Ifon Ceramic can make all the ceramic that is needed in vehicles, in boats, in aeroplane. We are crying of lack of potable water. What stopped Ondo State from having Ondo State Water Corporation that is so efficient and is able to produce water at a cheaper rate that the entire state can buy from? That is what they do here, my brother. These things are not rocket science. You just need leaders that are creative and can rely on the human potential of Nigeria, not just depending on the money from oil. That is when I told you about training, when I told you about investing in the people, when I told you that the people are the greatest resources that Nigeria has. That is what I was talking about. It is when you do all these things that you are able to, to provide employment for the people, and they will be very happy to go to work in the morning. And by so doing, everybody that is working that you have trained, including all these companies, we make sure we hold them accountable in such a way that they have to pay back the money you spend on them in form of taxation.
All right, Mr. Monday. Now I'm looking at you as a human being. No? Now, I also want to believe that the man in Nanaso Rock is also a human being. He also have a family. Sometimes he also get angry. He can also have bad mood. Sometimes he have good mood.
Right.
But does that individual feel concern of what is happening in the country? That Nigerians have become like animals.
Right.
Does that concern that individual?
Because they are benefiting from this cruel system that they put in place. That is the problem. It is not only the man in Aso Rock. You see, the problem of Nigeria is not Buhari alone. The 36 state governors are some of the greatest problems. If you are making all this money, you get all this money from federal government, you are also generating some from your own local people that are paying rents and other taxation. The question is, how are you transforming those wealth? What are you doing with that money? So you have a situation in Nigeria where one man will stockpile over $300 billion in a toilet in his house. What is that money doing in the toilet? I mean, these are funds that you can expand into investment that would, my goodness. It's just that they are not seeing tomorrow. They are not seeing the future. Look at the cocoa house that Awolowo left for us. The building is dilapidated, but that was the same cocoa glass house that served the entire Western Nigeria. That was where I also generated the fund that he used in running the educational system that make people go to school free of charge. That was where the money that was used to create the first television station in Africa, in Ibadan, came from. So the question is, what is so difficult in these people, this present crop of leaders, seeing that Nigeria can develop if they do these little things. Even they themselves would be at peace. But because they lack foresight, because they are cruel, because their mind is not productive, because they are lazy. So they believe that free money from oil is just sufficient. It is
But wait, Monday. Is it really only the leader that we can hold accountable here? What about the Nigerian people? Are they really helpless in the situation? Okay, now you see, now we didn't talk of Edo State. You know that Edo State, the War of Benin, for example, is one of the most important human achievements. But do you know that the same war are being torn down by the people of Benin? I mean, do we have a cultural problem here of preservation of our property, of our things?
You see, when the head suffers, every single part of the body will be sick. You cannot, I understand that when it comes to nation building, the citizens have their own roles as well. But the role of the citizens are clearly defined and directed by the direction that the leadership is heading. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
The people cannot single-handedly just stand up that, okay, I want to build cocoa factory. They might not have the resources. In the United States, for example, individuals can just stand up and say, okay, I want to build a company that will hire people. But the government create conditions that make that individual responsible. Excuse me. They also create conditions that make it easy for that individual to have the necessary resources that allows him to fulfill that dream. The government also ensures that the rules of conduct is clearly defined so that you are not just running a company just the way you feel. Your company is subject to certain regulations and to certain conditions and to certain standard, because quality control is very, very important. So if those regulations are not there, what do you think the people would do? If you have a governor that is not creative, that relies solely on embezzlement, where does it find the will to even prosecute someone that doesn't go to work when the day breaks? You get what I mean? So it is not something that began with the people. Let me also remind you, but there was a time that Nigeria was actually working for everybody. All these criminals you see today, they all went to free school. Akere Dolu went to OAU free of charge, studied law, ate food chicken, sleep on free house. Me, Biko, the same. Buhari went into the military even without white certificate. People created that pathway because the people that existed then understand the importance of moving the nation forward. And the only way they can do that is to empower the younger generation and to also create a path through which they too can become leaders. As at that time, late Chinua Achebe was just 27 years old. He headed the entire Nigeria broadcasting service. But today, these same people are saying that a 50-year-old man cannot be the president of a nation or a president of Nigeria. no matter how old you are. How old was Gowon when he became the president of Nigeria? How
How
old
old was that today now when they moved the motion of
when he
independence for the country?
of independence? How old was Buhari when he started leading through? How old was Obasanjo when he first ruled Nigeria as a military president? Now, if the younger generation talk, you ask them to keep short. What would have happened if people like Awo let
Yeah. No, the voice is no longer clear again. Maybe, okay. Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, what would have happened if these big people that existed then didn't create the pathway for all these criminals today?
Yeah.
So you just have a generation that is just satanic, just devilish, and deliberately just wanted to screw the country up because of their own selfish interest.
And that is becoming even difficult to understand now, in that these people, they are too short-sighted. They are not able to see that there will be this country 250 years from now, 500 years from now. So the question is, how do you want your name to be remembered in Nigeria? People like
they don't care. No, my brother. I will tell you why they don't care. They don't. Abacha died, right? That was a man that single-handedly killed 9 solid brains just because they were agitating for good for the good of their own society. But today, a man that celebrated a man that is celebrating that, a man that saw Abacha as his own mentor is ruling Nigeria. A man that was part of that crew, that crew order that killed Kensarowiwa and turned Nigeria into darkness overnight is ruling Nigeria. So what do you think that means to other leaders that are coming? We don't even have a situation where most Nigerians are even saying, oh, Jonathan was a god. That was the same Jonathan where only one of his ministers have almost 30 houses in Dubai. Not to talk about juries and everything. That was the same man whose administration oversaw one of the greatest fraud, looting in the history of Nigeria.
But is this stupidity? Because now you have 30 houses. What are you going to do with it?
Right. But again, that is why I told you that Nigerians are not suspecting. That is the problem. Our people are not vigilant. Even some of us that are in diaspora today, who are now seeing things differently, when we were in that Nigeria, we thought we were doing the best. Majority of us thought Nigeria was doing the best. Even majority of them still hold that kind of crude view today in the face of all this evil that is unleashed on Nigeria. So the question is, our people are not vigilant. It is not, you see, there's what they call conventional wisdom. When that conventional wisdom is lacking, it's a problem. And how do you take away conventional wisdom from people? You change their brains. That was exactly the same thing the British people did when they colonized Nigeria, or when they first started came as slave masters. what did they do? What was the first thing they did? They turned the entire people against themselves to the extent that native people were even willing to sell their brothers, their sisters, their wife, their father, and the weak among them into slavery. It is the same mentality. You have a situation where some Nigerians today are even using their hard-earned money to celebrate thieves like Atiku. Celebrate. Did you know how many people died in Lagos just because Tinubu took their houses without compensation? Everywhere he goes and see that your house is in strategic place, he took it. He take it from you without compensation. But you have people who are celebrating him shouting, he transformed. Whose life did he transform? He transformed the lives of criminals that he feel over time will help him fulfill his criminal intentions. He did not transform the lives of Lagosians. He selected few individuals. He trained them in his own way because he feel that over time, these people will end up working for him.
But do they think that they can live forever? Because the question now is, how are we going to remember Tinubu? Of course, we are not going to be alive 500 years from now, because other people are going to come in this country, Nigeria. They are going to read about us. They are going to know about IBB. They are going to know about, yeah.
You are thinking as a Westerner, it might be a little difficult. It will be difficult in the sense that apart from one of the evil they also did to a Nigerian educational system to make sure that they pull wool over the eyes of the people is that they took history out of our curriculum. To the extent, our people don't even have a sense of history anymore. We don't learn history anymore. If you even sit and average, if you sit some Nigerians down now and ask them to tell you who is IBB, some of them cannot even remember. If you ask some of them to tell you who is General Sani Abacha, a lot of them don't even know who Abacha is or what he did to Nigeria. Even someone like Obasanjo that is still living, if you ask some Nigerians now that tell me the policies or what makes Obasanjo who he is, some Nigerians don't know. And this cruel man, Buhari, that is ruling Nigeria today, how did he succeed? A lot of Nigerians who clamored for him in 2015 actually did not know much about Buhari. I was a victim too.
That is what history does.
Now you know what I'm talking about. A lot of people didn't even know that when Buhari became the military president of Nigeria Buhari became the president of Nigeria in 1983 or thereabout, till December 1, how he killed people like Ambrose Ali, jailed people like Lateef Jakonde, and all these people who used proceeds from cocoa to rebuild Lagos, rebuild Edo State, and rebuild many other states in Nigeria. But he arrested all these people, but his brother, that was the president, Alhaji Shehu Shagari, was in Sokoto enjoying and was receiving his benefits. But people that were merely governors, you were running after them. The only northern, I think it was Umaru Diko, I don't think he's even from the corner, was one of the only person from that area that Buhari ran after. Why? Because Umaru Diko did not agree with him. Every other person that disagreed with him, he killed them. As if that was not enough, Nigerians were to vote to, to nominate the next Secretary General of Commonwealth of Nations then. So it was an Igbo man who was one of the most senior person that was supposed to become The next person. What did Buhari do? He gave his votes to Mali. So what did Buhari show us there? He's not a Nigerian. It is only a rogue leader that would do that. But how many Nigerians were aware of those key things? How many Nigerians knew that during PTN, Buhari became an avenue through which Abacha was siphoning money to abroad? That is why they systematically remove history from our curriculum. I remember when I was growing up, I did social studies, I did history, and this history were mainly about our people. They even taught us what they called, there was another one they call civic education, where they teach you about people like Moremi, Oba Oborame, Oba Kosoko of Lagos, King Jaja of Opobo, Abat Macaulay, all these people that, that fought tirelessly for Nigeria. I first learned about these people in elementary school, my brother.
That is the way it's supposed to be.
What do people still learn? Do people even remember that these people existed anymore? No. So
but you just said that ASU have been on strike for 7 months.
It is a systematic thing. They deliberately took away these core classes from the university curriculum to cover their own evil, so that nobody will read about them. They do it even when they die, they go. So nobody will even remember them again. Even when we mention their name, we have to go start digging and digging and digging, And when many of these things are not written, it's difficult to even connect with them. Even when I did Nigerian foreign policy 1 and 2, most of the things that were written about Buhari, foreign policy, really did not capture the entire life of Buhari. It was when I got to the US, I went back to school, I started reading books. That I started learning about some of these things. Because if you go to some of these libraries, you will see all these periodicals, especially the ones that are, that are African oriented. You will see them talking about these issues. They will tell you there was one I read that was saying why Africa failed was because Nigeria failed. So when they were analyzing why Nigeria failed, they put some of these stories there.
So now, can we pretend that the people in the seat of power in Nigeria are not intelligent enough to understand what we are talking about here? Or why can't a normal human being just say that, oh, we want Nigeria to also be the best country in the world. Let's do everything possible. Let's go to work. Why are they not thinking like that?
Because they're selfish and they don't want Nigeria to get out of this situation. Because the day Nigeria gets out of this situation, they too might begin to lose value. And these guys that we're talking about here, they are people who want to continue to stay relevant even when they are not doing the right thing. Have you ever sat down and think, if you wake up today and question any of them, then you become their target? Have you sat there and think about it?
It's unfortunate.
That came out against Buhari, what did they do? What did he do to them? He incarcerated the one he came. He almost even killed this Omoyele Sowore. They look at when Ganifa Wemi was on the street telling Nigerians the truth. What did they do to him? Firing tear gas on him. His right to peaceful protest was taken away from him. Look at when the student of Obafemi Awolowo, was talking about bad governance and bad administrator in OAU. What did they do to those students? They went there and killed them in cold blood. Professor Wale Omole sponsored cultists into the school and killed those students in cold blood. Till today, did you hear anything about it? When people rose up against EndSARS and stood on Tinubu's toll gate, What did they do to them? They massacred them despite the fact that they were holding Nigerian flags in their hands. They killed them all. Why do you think they're doing that? They have to instill that fear. They have to intimidate people. They have to threaten. They have to kill. They have to maim just so that they can continue to perpetrate themselves in power, even when they are not doing enough. That is
All right. Now, Mr. Monday, tell me, what is the hope?
the hope.
Now, these are human beings. They have the chance to be able to become the terror of the country. I want to repeat again what Osayomore of blessed memory was saying. Those that are really ruling Nigeria, they are less than 100 people. They hold the country by their teeth.
Yes.
They don't want to let it go, and they are ready to make sure that the entire people, more than 200 million Nigerians, remain where they are. They are using poverty as a weapon. They are using ignorance as a weapon. They are using tribalism as a weapon. All this against the people. They are using the people like the cricket, using the oil of the cricket to fry the cricket itself.
The number one thing is that an average Nigerian should be aware of his or her own problem. Because if you did not recognize that you are in trouble, it will be difficult for you to even think about solution. Because if you did not know you are in trouble, it is difficult for you to think that someone is responsible for it. So the number one thing is for Nigerians to actually recognize these problems. Then the number two is now to begin to identify who is responsible for this problem. That is the number two. The number three thing is that Nigerians should become vigilant. They should become vigilant. And the number four is that they need to start their own independent study. They don't have to rely on hearsay. If Monday Alade says something, let them go and verify it. If Obehi posts something on his podcast, let them go and verify it. So by doing those verifications, you'll be able to authenticate the story that you're learning. Then that allows you to have your own, it will allow you to make your own educated decision as to which side you want to belong, or who you have to vote for, or who you have to call your leader. The number five thing is that you and I cannot relent in what we are doing. Even if we have to do it alone, we have to stand by our words, and we have to continue to, to use our conscience, our knowledge, our exposure, our training, our education, and everything we have to continue to tell the truth. The last thing is that we too should become the voice, the pillar, and the structure of some of these leaders that we think are the best among us. I'm going to tell you this. Among this younger generation in Nigeria, even some of Nigerians that are abroad, my brother, you have some credible individuals. You have some guys that are super smart, that are very creative, that are very exposed, and with the ability to take the necessary risk. So we have to use our voices to shoot these people to prominence. It is not a crime if your platform is used sometimes to even interview a Maya Nation and put it out there and let people listen. It is not a bad thing if you and I, maybe in Italy where you are, maybe there is a Nigerian that did something that is very good and unique. It is not a bad thing if your platform becomes that person's voice. And across the world like that, we have to We have to continue this path because these cruel leaders, they are not ready to leave, my brother. The worst thing they are even doing now is that they are recreating themselves. Not just recreating themselves, they are recreating themselves through their own nuclear families. In Ondo State, for example, you know what Akeredolu did? After he became governor for the second time, he took his first son and made him the chief of one thing, one thing. That young man has learned so much criminality from his father to the extent that today he awards contract even without his father contributing to it. So he is using that to make money for himself. So what do you think his father is doing? He's recreating himself. That is how people like Bukola Saraki became what they are today. Because his own father too was just as cruel as him. So his father kept him somewhere, nurturing him in abroad. As soon as he was ripe enough, he brought him home, schooled him, and look at Saraki too. Luther. So that is another thing they are doing. So when their father dies, they take over. You get a lottery. So you now wonder why it is so difficult for them to invest in the people. Another thing they do is that they select few individuals that they can manipulate at will. You know, they give them certain position, and through that they mentor them to become thieves as well, to become just as cruel as they are, so that they can continue this
Yes.
line, this chain of evil.
So that the system can continue to perpetuate itself in eternity.
That is what they're doing, my brother. So that is why we cannot stop telling the truth.
Towards 2023, because that'll be the pointer for the conversation, what would you like to tell Nigerians, particularly young Nigeria, because I've done a lot of interview. Tomorrow I also have some interview with some people that are both participating or spectating on. A lot of young people are particularly interested in this election, and that is something positive. So what would you like to say to them in terms of what they should consider before voting? Because at the end of the day, we are also participating. I believe that if the Nigerian people suddenly realize that they want a change, if they really want the change, those in national role will not have enough power to control them. Because the power really is in the people, please.
What is driving the current political trend in Nigeria is not actually the right conversation. Because if you listen to Nigerian youths, if you listen to the messages they are passing across, you will see that most of their position is driven by ethnicity and religion. The present ruling class, they deliberately did that because that is
right on that
they
again.
can divide and rule the people. Peter Obi became so popular not because he is the best candidate among all of them. It is because the Eagles believe that it is their turn. So what the people of Eagle did is to create a very strong propaganda. They created this network of propaganda in such a way that, they blow it everywhere. Suddenly, Peter Obi, that does not have good scorecard at home, become a populist candidate. Atiku, on the other hand, is one of the worst evil that has ever come out of Nigeria. How come it becomes so popular? Again, They use the same religion and ethnicity. And they also took advantage of the hunger and threat that they unleashed on Nigeria to make him seem like he's the only person, that have what it takes to confront the current situation and to also make sure that Bola Ahmed Tinubu from the West, does not become the president of Nigeria. Not necessarily because Atiku understands Nigeria or that he has solution. No. And Bola Ahmed Tinubu, on the other hand, what is he doing? They're talking about him or his political party choosing, not necessarily because he knows what he is doing or he could have recognition, necessary for the office he's vying for, or even the health, but just because they feel he is the only person that can take the fight to the northern cabals. That is all. The critical issues that these present crops of Nigerians, these young Nigerians are not asking is that what is our own place in this scheme of things? Remember, in 2015, when they were the same Nigerians came out en masse, including Obehi Sowore and co, to say Buhari is the only option. But the Nigerian people didn't ask the question, where is our place in this whole calculations? They didn't ask. So what did these people do? They bought them out using rice and what? Like
Tinubu is saying, he don't know.
That's what they've been doing. So they use that and pay some people off at the polling booth, give them 5,000, 30,000, they pay them off so that when it is time for them to recoup all this money, nobody will say, oh, we were in the equation, we already paid you off. So the critical question these Nigerians should be asking right now is that where are we in this whole calculation? Where do you place us? Where is our place? As we are canvassing a new order, what will be our own contribution, or what do you owe us? Nigerians are not asking that critical question. You see where I'm coming from? So these are the questions they should be asking. If you're talking to some of these candidates, ask them, how are you going to make sure Nigerians and Nigerian youths become the engine room or become the drivers, of your idea? Because it is one thing to have an idea. It is another thing for you to use your people and the right people to bring your idea to life. You cannot, if you have brilliant ideas and you put bad people in place, what do you think will happen? The idea will become redundant. So Nigerians should be asking those questions. How are you going to rely on Nigerians in building this nation? How are you going to include Nigerians in this your agenda in such a way that we can all be relevant while we are moving this nation to the direction we want to go? You get what I mean?
It's a good question.
You can be a leader. You can have all these ideas. But if there are no people to drive these ideas, they are just dead on arrival, my brother. These ideas should be anchored around the people. What can you do with this teeming population? Nigerians are some of the most energetic people, my brother. We are some of the most brilliant people. Why are you not tapping into these resources? Why are you not training them to take charge Why do we have to rely on Indians and Chinese? I work with Indians and Chinese here. They are not better than us. But if you see, most Nigerians lack self-confidence. Why? Because we never had those foundations laid properly. So what are you doing to lay this foundation so that we can believe in our own selves? We can believe in the ideas and the practical experiences and the practical stuff that we are bringing to the table. What are you doing to empower us? Are you going to revitalize most technical schools across Nigeria? Are you going to bring technical skills to colleges and universities? Are you going to start creating skill labs where people can learn how to write good resumes? Even someone like me, when I went to school here, when I was doing my master's, there is a lab. If I write an article, I take it to that lab. People that are expert in writing, they critique it. They're not telling you what to write, but they will critique it. They will tell you, what if you do this like this, if you do this like this, if you add this, if you add that. Then they leave it to you. Then you go back home, you think about it, then you put all these things into it, you bring it back, they look at it again 3 solid times before they can say, okay, you're doing something that is good. How are we going to bring all of these practical things to our school, to our children across Nigeria? These are questions that the people should be asking. It is not just enough to say, oh, na Peter Obi, oh, na Bola Tinubu. Ask them questions. When they were screening people for ministerial position, I heard when they were screening, I watched when they were screening, what is his name? What is the name of this guy? Festus Keyamo. They asked him, he's a lawyer for God's sake, and he's a foremost lawyer in Nigeria. They asked him how they can decongest the Nigerian prison system. Go back to YouTube, go and look at that. The answer again. I shook my head. And this person will end up becoming a minister. He doesn't know. He starts speaking grammar. He starts quoting laws. Oh, these are practical things. Put them in practical terms. I told my friend that was sitting with me, I'm like, these cases that are congested, I mean, these people that are in police prisons and some of the cases that are in the doorstep of the Supreme Court that they are not hearing, one thing is responsible, and that thing is the state laws that has become nearly not available. If the state had laws, if there's a problem in one state, the case has to be tried within that state first. If the state failed to resolve it, or if a party to that case felt that the entire case has not been exhausted, then you take that case to the state Supreme Court. It is when the state Supreme Court cannot resolve it, then you appeal it to the federal Supreme Court. And now, even before this case will leave the case will leave the state will have to determine if this case is actually worthy of going to the Supreme Court. You see how it is? And even those people that are in the prison, in police cells, unlawfully, unjustifiably, these are people that the state attorney general is supposed to be overseeing. Every DPO of every single police station in Nigeria should be reporting every cases that come across their table on daily basis to the office of the state attorney general. By so doing, the state attorney general would be able to know the people that are in cell within his state.
Monday, you are an expert in this. I really will beg you that we could actually do an episode on that, because on the Nigerian policing, there is a lot of things that we could. Do you just so I can say it here? Actually, my interview journey started in the police station. I was I think in JSS 2 or so. We did a lesson in one day that was called the Harvard Couple Law. That when the police arrest somebody, you cannot keep the person for 24 hours without being tried, no?
Their couples, right?
Yeah. So as a student, a young student, then in the secondary school, I just wanted to explore this. So I went to the state, to the police DPO in Uromi. That was where I started my interview thing. So it's something that I really like to talk about. Also because it have different dimensions, particularly in Nigeria, where we have only one federal policing. In Italy, for example, where I live, it's not just one federal police. There are different versions of policing here. We have the national police, we have the regional police, we have the state police. We have different type of policing here. The police should know you down to your root, speak your language, know you very well.
It is same in America.
You see, but in Nigeria, it's not the same. So, all these things we need to explain. Then we need to understand, how are we living as a country? In what context? You see? So I would really beg you to respond to that on another occasion where we can deep more on that.
I actually brought that in to tell you the quality of people that Nigerians are celebrating.
Do you know that telling a story is one of the most powerful ways to connect with your audience? Do you know that the human brain processes story much more easily and quickly than facts and figures? Stories are a great way to engage your audience, get them interested in your products and services, and inspire them to take action. A good story will help you create more compelling content that can be shared on social media or through other channels. And it's not just about telling a compelling story, it's also about knowing how to tell it effectively. Now, do you want to better connect with your audience? Then join us on our online training class, Storytelling for Content Creators and Digital Entrepreneurs. Come to obehi.com/storytelling and learn how to leverage your storytelling skill to earn more as a content creator and digital entrepreneur. Storytelling is a powerful way to connect with your audience, so let's explore it together. See you in the class.
And that is why we have this failed system. If you put people who does not truly understand how things work, but just this fact that, they are lawyers, they are medical doctors, they can speak big grammars, and they are popular on the street, does not make them competent. So if you look at that screening, if I was among those Nigerian Senate that was screening, among those Nigerian senators that was screening Festus Keyamo that day, I swear to God, he would leave there crying. Not only that he was done, he just did not understand what was going on. The same thing the same thing repeated itself when Shehu Sobaloye, what's his name, from one of the Nigerian network news, was anchoring debate in Ondo State. He asked two sons were on that stand that day. Ehitayo Jegede and what's his name? This present governor Akere Dolu. He asked them, how can they increase their internal revenue without putting undue pressure on the people? My brother, these guys gave vague answers. And look at it. If you have to create additional revenue without you necessarily putting the pressure on the people, it's for you to invest in business and train people that can help you manage this business. Create laws that guide against misconduct in workplace. It's as simple as that. And the people that you hire will end up paying taxes to the state, and you are also generating money from this entity that this business entity that you just created. It's as simple as that. My brother, these people were just speaking vague languages and all of that. That is why we found ourselves in this situation.
And we continuously celebrate the incompetence.
This incompetence, these people they are just sound on paper, but they are not sound in their brain.
But you know what I was thinking, because before you did make mention of the fact that the federal government is in charge of generation of electricity in Nigeria. No, of course, the federal government of Nigeria seems to be in charge of very many things. No, sometimes they are really not capable of handling the role that they want to handle. No. Now the question is, what if there is really a natural competition in Nigeria where we tell each state, okay, you go and make use of what is available in your territory, then you pay tax to the federal government. For example, the federal government did not need to supply you energy. You don't want to be in the dark, generate your own electricity. Let's put this as a competition for all the 36 states in the country. I am very sure that very soon, each of the states will be having their own lights. But if we want the federal government to supply everything now, that is why we are generating less than 5,000 megawatts of electricity in the country. How can you use 5,000 megawatts? We don't even have up to that. No, I'm just like upgrading
It's not up to, right.
How can you use that one to power the economy the size of Nigeria? Are we going to do miracle?
The problem, Obehi, is that each of these state governors, they are lazy, they don't think, and each of them don't want to step on the toe of the federal government of Nigeria, because for them to continue to be relevant, they have to be blind to so many things. You get the logic? Because if not,
and there are people who will be suffering meanwhile.
They don't care. They don't care. Because in America, for example, right, if a state failed to achieve certain things, certain area of its constitutional role to the people, the federal government have the right, the legal right, to say, okay, we are going to investigate this aspect. It's just like, for example, now, if, for example, a police department is doing something wrong and people cry out, FBI can take over the investigation of that police department, because FBI is a federal agency. It's a federal agency.
Mm-hmm.
So that is how the federal government check the powers of the state and other government agencies. But the Nigerian states is not interested in that, because they are all guilty of the same problem. They know they don't have what it takes to occupy where they are. So the only thing they can do to survive in it is to play along. You get what I'm saying? Is to play along. Is to play along.
Meanwhile, we're all suffering. We're just managing, patching the system.
That is why the federal government can send army to entire states to kill and maim the indigenous people of that state, and the state governor think it is a good thing.
It's sad, my brother. It's sad. It's sad. By the way, we have hope that things will change, things will turn around.
We hope.
I want to thank you so much for the time. Yeah, we really have spent a lot of time here because
Yes.
that is it. That is our country. We love it, so we have to share some time about it. So, what would be your final thought here to conclude the conversation?
Obehi, thank you very much for the opportunity. I am always happy to speak with you all the time. Not only that, most of the topics you bring uh, is very stimulating. They are very, very fascinating. I enjoy them, and then you know, we need them. We need to talk about these issues. It is the only way we can continue to tell our people to do what is right. My final take would be that Nigerians, as we move towards electing new leadership for our country, we might not be there to vote, but one thing I will assure you, if you look at the whole problem now, who is at the receiving end? It is you, not some of us. Some of us are concerned not because we cannot turn our eyes away, but it's because we feel that you can also live a meaningful life. We feel that every human being, irrespective of where they were born or the kind of education they have or the kind of life God allowed them to live, that dignity of man shouldn't be taken away from them. So this forthcoming election should be about you, not about the people that put you in this present predicaments that you find yourselves. A predicament where you cannot travel from Ore to Benin. You cannot travel from Benin to Uromi. You cannot travel from Benin to Onitsha by road anymore without you having your heart in your plan. The fear of you being kidnapped for ransom, and there is no police officer to come look for you, but the same police officer is able to come get you after your ransom has been paid. This is a definition of a failed government. The worst thing you would do to yourself is to recreate this kind of system. So as you go into 2023, as you are about to elect your new leaders, the question you should be asking is, where is your place in this whole scheme? It is not where is the place of politicians. Ask them questions. How am I going to benefit? How is my family going to benefit? How is my neighbor going to benefit? Because if you benefit, your family benefits, your neighbor benefits, then they will be your line of security, not the people that will be coming to plan your downfall, to planning to come and kill you or kidnap you. So these are the questions you should be asking. Where is your place? How are they going to tap into your skills? How are they going to make your skills better so that you too can become someone who can contribute meaningfully to the growth of Nigeria while you also live in prosperity? Thank you.
Thank you so much, my brother. I appreciate it. I really do. Thank you. Thank you
Appreciate
so
it.
much.
Thank you.
If you enjoy this podcast, make sure you subscribe so you never miss any of our future episodes. Rate and review Obehi Podcast and share with your friends who might need it. I remain Obehi Ewafo. Thank you so much for listening and talk to you in the next episode.